Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Polyhedron Claddercast episode 109, our 2022 preview. I'm Steve Tudor.
I'm Andy Lewis.
I'm Sid Gill.
So, today we're going to talk about what we're excited about for the next 12 months of gaming. Well, I say 12. It's already 1st of February we're recording this, so that's
10 and a
down
half.
to 10 and a half, yeah. That's how you got this.
PHC leading from the front. There we go.
Absolutely right.
This year's not going well already, but we'll come to that, I think, hopefully in a future cast.
Indeed.
Let's try and remain positive for this one.
Yes, indeed. Well, it's already February, so, we've got the 7 months of January out of the way. It's all good.
It did feel long, didn't it?
Always
It wasn't
does.
just me.
Always does, mate.
Yeah, it's just dragged on. But it's over now.
Yeah.
It's finished.
It is. 4 weeks' time, it's March. 7 weeks' time, it's spring.
Yeah, quiet now. Don't wish time away.
We haven't had snow yet.
We're not
No,
going to
that's
get
true.
snow.
No, we are.
It'll be March. It turns up in March usually.
That you're more likely to get snow. What was it? The bank holiday most likely to get snow is Good Friday. We're seconds into the podcast and we've already digressed on something completely random. This is a tabletop gaming podcast. We are going to be talking about the games we're excited about for in 2022 that we know about, which is always the caveat we use because there's often a whole bunch of games we don't know about, and as per usual, it's over the last few years it's become really difficult to work out what's coming out in retail.
True. I had another look today because in a shock, we've actually had our show notes, courtesy of Steve actually being prepared before Christmas, for quite a few weeks. So it's given us a chance to go through the list and write down all of the ridiculous Kickstarters that I have backed. And I thought, no, do you know what? I'm going to have another look today to see what's in retail. Things like Fantasy Flight and all that sort of thing. And I found one game. One. Sorry, one that I gave a shit about. Although, to be fair, it wasn't many more that I didn't. It's really hard.
I've been struggling with that as well. There are a couple, though, and I actually don't think I've written them down. Oh, yes, I have. Oh, wow. I've planned ahead. I've written them down. Look at that.
Very organised.
Yes. So I will say that this will sound like a little bit like a stuck record. Because as we mentioned in the last episode, a lot of the Kickstarters that were supposed to come out in 2021 are horribly late. And I actually made a note. There are 3 games that I mentioned in last year's preview that I'm still waiting for.
Wow.
Which are Northgard, which is the Viking area control game based on the video game with the same name. Perseverance Castaway Chronicles.
That's the big
Which is
DVT one, isn't it?
Big DVT, dice placement, crazy story about a cruise ship crash landing on an island full of dinosaurs. And then Oathsworn Into the Deepwood, which is the massive campaign game which has got voice actors doing apps. It's kind of boxes full of mystery miniatures, kind of like halfway between Gloomhaven and Kingdom Death Monsters, what we think it's going to be. That's been delayed. And there's another one actually I forgot off this list, didn't spot it. Oh, and it's on there, Nemiji, and I don't think I mentioned Nemiji. No, it's not. It's mainly for my wife we've got that. But that is a spiritual sequel to Tokaido.
Ah.
Tokaido is the game where you kind of worker placement where you're going along a path and it's like a set collection game and it's supposed to be set in Japan. And Nemiji is a similar game, but you've got a boat. Now that game is ridiculous behind schedule, and I'm mentioning this because they gave a Kickstarter update a couple of days ago, and the first thing it said was Happy New Year. And I thought, you're not even on time with your Happy New Year message.
Unless they're in China.
Isn't that
Chinese?
today?
It is Chinese New Year. It starts
French
today. Oh,
it's
it's
a
French
French
company.
company.
Well, in that case, then yes, they deserve every bitch slap they get. But genuinely, it is. I think Chinese New Year starts today, as the 1st of February. So as we record this,
It is today, yeah. There was much amount of rejoicing in the Gale household today. The wee man loves duck pancakes.
oh well.
Ooh.
There we go.
Who doesn't love a duck
Well,
pancake?
indeed,
That's
who does
fair.
not?
That's fair. It's mostly that lovely salty sauce that you throw all over it. That'll do. It's just a salt delivery system, isn't it? Let's be honest.
I have, however, had duck pancakes. I would say not spoilt for me, but my perspective changed because I had duck pancakes actually in China.
Ooh.
Right, and there are several things that are different. Number one, you couldn't just order duck pancakes. You had to order the entire duck.
Indeed, yes.
Go big or go home. Nice.
And it was, yeah, because the crispy duck pancakes is the crispy skin. So you had to order crispy pancakes, like cabbage leaves full of minced duck and duck soup. And they basically cooked it in that order. So they went outside to in. So while you're eating your crispy duck pancakes, they're mincing the rest of the flesh to make the mince. Then when you're eating that, they're making the soup. So it's like a reverse way in which you have to have the soup as the last thing. The other thing was, the pancakes. You get like duck pancakes over here, and you get that weird like paper stuff.
Yes.
They weren't. They were like Shrove Tuesday pancakes in China.
Oh, wow! That's a big pancake for a lot of duck.
It was. Let's just say we were full by the time we'd eaten the crispy pancakes, and we had 2 more courses to
go. When you were there, did you get? Because my experience was slightly different. We had the duck arrived, and it was cleaved in half.
Oh,
the whole duck. So like
right
up its back, through its head, halved. Right.
Yeah.
The brain's a delicacy. So a little munch on that bad boy in there, but ours was all the whole duck, just all shredded up. This was in Beijing, I think we had it.
I think it changes from region to region. So I was in Donggang, which is Cantonese region. So yeah, the way they cook things is different everywhere. Like chicken feet. I don't. Did you have any chicken feet?
I did. Yeah, chicken feet. Yeah.
Do you have crispy chicken feet?
No, we had this like boiled pappy type one.
Yeah, the same here.
Yeah.
Everyone said that, like, crispy chicken feet. No, we had steamed chicken feet.
Yeah.
Feed that to the dog over here. One of our friends got them from a butcher's for a dog, because they're really sort of, obviously they occupy the dog for several seconds to keep it quiet. I mean, it's intended to keep it quiet for a lot longer than that, but most dogs just destroy stuff like that. I don't know what kind of dog they measure this kind of time scale over, but it's never for any dog I've ever met.
No, we got our dog tracheas, windpipes.
Oh yeah.
From something, and I thought big dried windpipe, but I'll keep him. He's only a wee dog. I thought I'll keep him going for 30 minutes. I'm not kidding. I put it down. I looked back and I thought, what's he doing with it? He's eating the damn thing.
Didn't touch the sides.
Oh, anyway, we have completely gone off track. So we normally pick kind of 3 each. I don't even think we're going to go that much detail at this point. I think we're just going to pick some random games and talk about what we're excited about. How does that sound?
That sounds
like a plan.
Good plan.
Go on, you can go first then, Andy.
Oh, me again, every bloody time. Just because you haven't chosen and I have. For once, I'm not actually doing this on the fly. Now, I have actually picked a bit of a random selection this evening. I'm keeping it, I'm not going to keeping it real, I'm keeping it interesting. The first one I'm going to pick is probably the least surprising of the 3. Which is the big, dry, boring Euro of the year, Weather Machine from Vital Lacerda and Eagle Griffin Games with artwork by Ian O'Toole. It is no secret that I quite like the Vital Lacerda games. I'm slowly getting through the big pile I ordered a year or 2 ago that turned up in a huge, great box. So I've played Escape Plan, I've played The Gallerist, which is very, very good. I've played the earlier version of Kanban, not the EV version, which is still turn up, but played Kanban. And I've got CO2 as well. I've played through that, so the second chance game as well. And they're all pretty bloody good. And Eagle Griffin do an excellent job of production, as we know, which is somewhat reflected in the price, but we shall gloss over that.
They are not cheap games, are they?
No, we are talking very luxury items in excess of £100 each. So, but to be honest, I do genuinely think they're worth it for what you get, the quality of it, and the way they're presented. They are really lovely. But Weather Machine is Vital's latest game, and it is all to do with a sort of mad inventor who's created this sort of weather machine and started to mess around with the weather and do lots of sort of random experiments in an attempt to do some good, but it's all gone horribly wrong. So this is where you as players step in as scientists to trying to work with this dude to try to bring things back on track. But in doing so, you can do science experiments which make things worse, but you can also do things with the old weather machine to try and make things better. And of course, the government has to try and step in to try and sort of sort things out. So you can kind of bung them the occasional invention to try and further your cause. So all of these elements sort of mix all together to form a typically heavy euro from Mr. Lacerda. Anything lower than 4.9 out of 5, I think, would be a disappointment. I'm reliably informed it's probably on par, if not slightly heavier than On Mars. So
Jesus.
I know. But obviously that remains to be seen. Everyone's view is slightly subjective on this. But I am very much looking forward to it because it does look stunning. The Kickstarter campaign ended a few months ago, and it's due, I think it's about October this year, 2022, give or take, assuming, obviously, everything goes well. The world is returned to some kind of normalcy, and the phase of the moon is in the right position at the right time. So we shall see. But yes, I'm very, very excited about that. Yes, ace.
See, I just realised that I've actually already talked about the games I'm most excited about getting.
So you have to choose 3 others.
So, because basically I'm really excited about Perseverance, Northgard, and Oathsworn, which are the games I've talked about so much. And I wondered whether, like, after all this time, my anticipation for these games have repeated, but it hasn't.
That's good.
So I'm actually, these are the ones I'm really excited for the most. So I'm going to go a little bit off tangent and possibly steal Sid's son.
Put your teeth in. Come on.
I'm going to go a bit off tangent and possibly steal Sid's thunder, and I'm going to talk about the Bladerunner RPG.
Oh, there's no shame in that, boss man. You can wire into that one.
Now, I don't know whether this is coming out in retail or Kickstarter because Free League have not actually said how they're going to be selling this.
I reckon it's licensed IP, so I don't think it'll be kickstarted. Alien was never kickstarted because it was licensed IP.
True.
And I reckon it'll be the same for Blade Runner. I think it'll go straight into a pre-order and come out on the web shop.
I wondered whether they might do like what they did with the Vaesen RPG and basically have it all ready to go. And it's just all they're doing with that Kickstarter is choosing the print run number.
Yeah, and they can do the same by their own web shop pre-order.
Yeah.
But,
yeah,
because
true.
Vaesen did kickstart, so I think Vaesen was slightly different.
Yeah, true. So anyway, this is a RPG set in the Blade Runner universe, made by, I think, most of the same team who worked on Alien, by the looks of it. I mean, same artist, definitely. And we don't know a huge amount about it, but it's going to be some kind of oh my God, I cannot speak today. Investigation game where you'll be, obviously, at least one of you will be the titular Blade Runner looking for androids, but I can imagine it's going to be lots more of kind of cyberpunky noir stuff in there. I think there's plenty you can do. There's a whole thing about, is Blade Runner and Alien in the same universe or not? And I can imagine you can easily bring in some crossover stories there with Weyland Yutani or what have you. So we love Alien. I so far actually haven't found a Free League game I don't like.
Fair.
It's very accurate.
So I think this is going to be another winner.
Is it another Mutant Year Zero system, or is it another?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Another brutal combat-based, you're going to die if you're round the next corner and you aren't prepared kind of thing. In fact, to be honest, even if you are prepared, probably going to die.
I've got to admit, one of the few bits of artwork they've displayed for this has got like a shootout with like one of those like taxi things, and people are hiding behind the taxi. And I kind of thought, you're not going to have a lot of combat in it, because it's going to be like mostly detective work, hunting people down. So when combat does happen, yes, it could get nasty pretty quick, which I think suits the setting.
I agree, because I mean, if you look at the film, there's actually not that many shootouts in it. There's only three, I think it is, when he shoots Pris, when he gets the shit kicked out of him by the big guy near the start, when he gets sort of thrown against the garbage machine, and I think he only gets saved by Rachel because she shoots the guy, and I can't remember his name now, it's not Oliver, something else. And then of course there's a couple of shootouts later on, but even then, even against Roy at the end, he doesn't shoot Roy, obviously, because Roy saves his life. Sorry, spoilers if you've not seen the film.
I was going to say, nobody now needs to watch it.
No, they do. It is
to be fair,
it's one
anybody
of the best
listening
films.
anybody listening to this of a particular age, and if they haven't seen it yet, frankly, they should take themselves outside and have a stern word with themselves.
That's a very good point. And to be honest, I think if you haven't seen the film, you won't be interested in the RPG because you won't know the lore. And I'd imagine you probably need to know the lore in the universe in order to understand the RPG. But yeah, I mean, the film is one of the greatest sci-fi films ever made, in my humble opinion. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful world. So yeah, I think it's appropriate. Combat will be lethal. Investigation, poking around, neon flashing lights, pissing with rain all the time, suitably miserable.
Vangelis soundtrack.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong.
It's going to be pregnant. It's going to be a really good one, that one.
Weird tangent as well. Today, I watched the Corridor Crew videos, which go on like how special effects and things are done in movies. And in the one I just watched, they were talking about how the intro, like the city panorama, was done. Mm-hmm. And basically, it took them weeks to do that. It's really clever how they did the special effects for that. There's no compositing at all. Everything is in overexposed on one piece of film in several goes.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Yeah, and these guys, like experts in CGI, just going, that sounds ridiculous. And they go, yeah, it was ridiculous. It cost so much it nearly bankrupted the film.
Amazing. Yeah, no, definitely looking forward to that. It sounds awesome.
So, Sid, have you got anything you can add? Because I noticed you haven't had a chance to update the list, but have you got anything you're excited for?
There's a few I'm
Call
excited
him out
for.
live on air. Nice.
There are a few. I have had plenty of time in the car to think about my position today. Well, Bladerunner was a good, absolutely, Steve. I'm looking forward to that. There's other free leagues I'm looking forward to as well. You've mentioned Vason's already. The Mythic Britain's coming out with the Seasons of Change or whatever the heck it's called, adventures. But it is. I'm going to have to go for another RPG because that is what I've been focusing my life on for the last I don't know how many years. And the one that's really got me excited actually is Mothership.
Yes.
And for folks that don't know, Mothership has already been out, as I think they call it a version 0.5 or something like that. But 3 or 4 months ago, end of last year, Tuesday Night Games, who were publishing it and writing it and producing it, decided they're going to do a 1E, so a first edition box set version of this game. It is a sci-fi horror game, kind of like Alien, but a bit more rules light. So it's that same kind of really brutal kind of, you're going to die, you're going to lose limbs, you're going to be maimed as a character, and you're going to want more and more and more of it. It just wants to make you come back. And the artwork for it, the whole kind of, what's the word? Concept, the settings the word I'm looking for, is very, think your cyberpunk, your steampunk kind of mashup spaceship stuff. So it's kind of like Alien, and there's a lot of people out there actually taking Mothership stories and porting them into the Alien world. And I think with the vice versa will be possible as well. Wow. But it's really different to a lot of the RPGs. It's not a big, thick, fat boy RPG book. They've gone a completely different route. So they've kept it really simple, really easy to get into. Some of their scenarios are pamphlets, literally pamphlets, trifold paper pamphlet, and it gives you everything you need to play the whole session. So that kind of gives you a feel for it. And it's that artwork, it's that setting, and it's this kind of really different system, rules light system that's got me quite excited about it. So I'm really looking forward to that. Sounds
really good. Do you know what? When I saw this, the first thing that occurred to me was it sounds like a cross between, and it kind of looks a bit like a cross between Games Workshop's Space Hulk and Escape the Dark Sector, kind of mashed together.
It's got that kind of artwork.
It's that pencil drawn artwork, which I think does it.
Exactly right. And it sounds great.
I think we'll really like it. I think it will make... We play... Well, we have last year, for various reasons, played a lot of Free League. And I think this one will shake it all up again for us. And I think we'll end up playing a very different system. And I think we will find new things we like about it. And I think we've all got used to death and destruction and maiming of characters now. So that won't really phase us in the same ways it maybe once would have. But I think the way that the scenarios are made and our ability to really create characters that have depth and how the characters are shaped by their interactions in previous missions and stuff like that. If you survive, of course, I think will be really, really interesting to play. So that's one of the ones I'm really looking forward to this year.
Awesome.
Cool. I'm quite looking. Did you back that as well, Andy?
No, actually, I did not. Rather surprisingly.
I know I did as well. So that's two of us who got it. But yeah, Sid said it seems quite light, and as you said, the scenarios are quite small, and it's got that. I don't know if you've noticed from looking at other RPG stuff, it's got that whole thing that Morkborg, and I'm pronouncing that wrong, has got, where lots of people have bought into this and are just churning out content for it.
Absolutely.
So third-party support is through the roof, basically. I mean, I'm looking at another Kickstarter at the moment, which is basically just a whole pile of Mothership scenarios to add. Yeah, just like, do I get that as well?
Is this another Free League game?
No.
it's not.
Tuesday night games. Or Tuesday night? Yeah, Tuesday night games, yes. It's not somebody we've played before as a group.
No.
They've got a few other games out there, but Mothership is really the one that's caught my attention with them. The others are just not pulling me in the same way, but Mothership really has caught my attention. It was one I did it on a fence for a little while, whether I was going to back it or not, and then I actually got the because you can get the 0.5e player's manual for gratis. It's just there, you can have a read through it, and I got that, and I just read through it going, I want to play this badly, and I went, I thought I'm backing it, so I went balls deep. I did an Andy on it.
It's the way forward, mate. Everyone should follow my lead. I mean, the idea of having a pamphlet as a scenario list is probably quite a good thing based on what happened to us in Coriolis last week when we nerfed the entire game so much that Steve had to set the entire campaign book to one side.
Yep.
We went round
basically
it.
Shortcutted 4 sessions worth of stuff lined
Hell
up.
yeah.
Don't worry, it won't be wasted.
Good.
The name will be scratched off and something else will be written on the top in Tip X.
Excellent. No, it does sound good. I'm slightly disappointed I didn't back it, but I think there was either a good reason or a good financial reason why I didn't back it at the time. It was probably that
Again, I don't think from a playing it point of view, I'm fairly sure that the 1E player manual is going to be free again. So to play it, I don't think you need to really put out any outlay. It's only if you want the bits.
I would say the player survival guide is on Drive for RPG as a pay what you want level.
There you go. That's what I thought. I knew it was
Very
something like
nice.
that. So
Okay.
that seems to be their ethos. I think that's how they came out with it in the first place.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
So it's yeah.
Sweet. Well, it sounds good. More sci-fi shooty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Excellent.
definitely.
We do like that. To keep in on theme with the old RPGs, what we are looking forward to, I'm going to keep it on point again with another sci-fi RPG, because we haven't had enough of those recently. And that is going to be Homeworld role-playing game.
Ooh.
Oh, yes.
I feel like this is where Steve in the edit needs to put the epic saga music in. To just fade into this little nugget.
I've got to find some copyright-free version of it.
I was going to say, yeah, some slightly adjusted Mass Effect music or something to put in the background, but adjusted just enough that it just fringes to copyright.
Was it 7 seconds you're allowed before the copyright police chase
I
after
think
you?
it's 45 for it's either demonstration or research purposes, something like that. But I guess it depends on what
this is neither.
No, this is a lot longer than that. So yeah, a different piece of music.
You say that, I was watching some music making videos about and someone had done like a filter sweep, which you can do on any synthesizer. You just like hold down a key and just twiddle the filter knob, which is there's like a dance track from Chemical Brothers, I think it was, used that exact still filter sweep at the beginning, and their artist label tried to sue the video that showed how to do this on a keyboard. It's like the most simple of keyboard maneuvers.
Wow.
So yeah, I ain't touching copyrighted music with a barge pole, mate.
No.
No, it's all right. I mean, we're all singing it in our heads anyway, so it probably doesn't matter.
But yes, so Homeworld RPG, based on the computer game from the early 2000s, and its subsequent sequel, and then there's going to be a third game released at some point in the future. I don't think it's going to be 2022. It's probably going to be 2023 at this rate for Homeworld 3. But I really love Homeworld, the computer game. I think genuinely it's one of the best video games I've ever played. It's a fantastic 3D RTS. It's a wonderful story. It's beautiful, especially since it's been remastered, put on Steam, and given the whole titivated and modern style. But the RPG, this is from Modiphius. So this is like Star Trek. It's using their 2D20 system. So it'll be a similar sort of idea for anyone who's played Star Trek or Dune. In fact, I think that's 2D20 as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So it's that kind of thing. It's set on one of either the ships in space, so you can sort of zip around the galaxy and sort of go to hyperspace and do all of that, or you can actually mooch around on Higara or Karak, the planets in the game that you'll play through. So the Kushan start on the desert world of Karak, and then through the game they end up trying to find their way back to the home world of Higara, and they meet many interesting and flavoursome characters along the way. And this RPG is set in that universe, so I am fully on board with this. I have already pre-ordered it, and I'm really quite excited to receive it, because it does look lovely, and the artwork looks great, very in keeping with the theme of the computer game. So yeah, very keen on that.
When's it coming out?
This year.
Well, I know the quick start's out.
Yeah,
So
the quick start's out now. You can get that if you pre-order it now, or even since when it started, you get the quick start 69-page PDF, 5 pre-gen characters, blah 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 blah, which I'm still to actually download and look through. But yes, so you can have a mooch through it. I don't know exactly when it's going to be available. Unfortunately, it doesn't say that much on their webpage.
That's probably because Modiphius have got so much stuff coming out, they don't have a clue when it's going to come out.
I suspect, yes. So 2022 is about as good as I can offer right now.
So put a double star next to that one, Steve, because we'll be talking about that in 2023.
Yeah, probably. Well, I hope not. Well, the only reason I hope we're talking about it is because we'd have been playing it and loving it. But we shall see.
I hope so.
We shall see.
It is one. It is one I'm really excited about as well.
Do you know why I'm quite excited about it? Because I know nothing about Homeworld's lore, so I can't GM this.
Have you never played it?
I have, but it was 15 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And I don't remember a damn thing about it. So basically, I'm quite happy because someone else has to run this.
I suspect it'll either be me or Derek.
I think you're right. I think it will be your Derek.
Because we're both very excited about it. Mm-hmm. Yes, and I love Homeworld as a computer game, so I'd be very happy to DM it. Although I'd like to play it as well. God damn it. See, that's the problem with really good RPGs. I want to play it and I want to DM it, so I don't know. Maybe I'll let Derek do it.
I'm excited because I don't remember it. So I have the same problem as Steve. I remember playing it, but I was relatively young when it came out.
In 2001, I think it came out.
Yeah, but that was when I was at university learning about beer and things like that. And so I didn't do a lot of computer gaming for a period. I played it, but I never really explored the lore and explored all the kind of background. It was just very much a straightforward play it, put it on the shelf, and move on with my life. So now I'm quite excited about it. To go back to it with a bit of nostalgia, but also having forgotten so much about it.
I think one of the best intros to a game ever is this. I mean, it gave you sort of the backstory of this is what we found and blah, blah, blah. We've built the mothership and this is why. But when the game kind of cuts from the sort of, it's almost cel-shaded animation that it uses to do the sort of the video sequences, to the actual game engine, and it opens up with the mothership in the scaffold, and then you've got this wonderful choral version of Barber's Adagio for Strings. I think it's Agnus Dei, I think they've called it, but it's that thing, and it's absolutely magnificent. I mean, at the time in 2001, the graphics were obviously, I mean, they're quite dated now, but back then it was like jaw-droppingly pretty. And since the update in the new engine, it is still jaw-droppingly pretty. It's absolutely stunning.
I did buy it after you pointed me towards it in your very subtle way that you point me towards stuff and spend my money. Still haven't played it yet, though.
You need to. It is spectacular.
I'm going to go and veer off the RPG, and most notably the sci-fi RPG area.
Save us all.
I'm going to talk about cowboys.
Hey, we all like cowboys.
Because I'm quite looking forward to the 2 sequels to Great Western Trail that are coming out.
Ooh. Now, I assume these are sequels to the 2nd edition.
They are in the style of the 2nd edition, yes. So the 2nd edition is basically they remade Great Western Trail with new artwork and new graphics, basically. But as far as I can work out, it's the same game and doesn't come with the expansion, which is a bit weird.
Apparently it's not. Apparently they've knocked a few corners off.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I wasn't aware of that because I've not played it. Because I thought, I'm not buying it because I've already got Great Western Trail. But I love Great Western Trail.
Likewise. It's a very good game.
It's a bugger to teach. Because it is because once you're playing, it makes sense. But when you're teaching it, it makes no bloody sense at all. Especially the discs around the top of the.
Oh yeah,
ball.
And the train. God, yes. Like, why have we got a train? There's cows here. Why are cows going on trains? Yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah, so basically, Great Western Trail is, if people haven't played it, it's a game which you are a cowboy moving up a trail, and you're basically taking your cattle up this trail. And your cattle is some cards in your hand, so it's kind of half deck builder, half worker placement, where you are trying to get the best hand of cards by the time you get to the trail, because that's what you're going to sell to get the cash to do things, and then you're going to build buildings along the trail which allow you to take actions. And of course, you've just some, ones on there which are neutral and don't belong to anyone, but then players start adding their own to it, and you have to pay to get past them, or you give someone else when you land on their action. But of course, the more actions on the board, the more interesting and more varied the options you've got. Then there's a whole Yuri thing at the end, as you said, we got a train where you've then got to decide to buy stations or things like that. I really love it, and it's one of those games which I've had real success in showing other people. Even though it's complicated, once you start moving along and do that first trade of the cows, everyone goes, okay.
Yeah. I mean, you're the reason I've got it as well. So yeah, it's a wonderful. I mean, Laura actually played it, and I played it last week because we've not played it for a little while, and we really, really love it. It's such a great game.
So they are doing, as you said, they kind of remade it recently, and in the same style, there's going to be 2 extra games. Of course, the original one was called Great Western Trail, so it was about the Americas, and then they're doing 2 versions which are still going to be trading cattle, but they're going to be based in Argentina and New Zealand.
Okay.
So I don't know what differences there'll be between the gameplay.
Flavour.
I don't know if it...
Argentinian beef's good.
I was going to say, I don't know which one is going to be the more interesting game. I'm probably going to poke for the New Zealand one if I'm going to get one.
I reckon it might be sheep if it's New Zealand. I don't think there are many cows in New Zealand. I don't know. There's a lot of lamb and a lot of sheep. I think I think the number of sheep in New Zealand outweighs the number of people by something like 4-1. It's insane, the ratio of sheep to people in New Zealand.
I wouldn't be surprised, to be fair. But yes, I'm definitely on board with that one.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very much so. I did not know these were happening. So the problem with that is, though, Steve, is we are probably going to be compelled to buy the 2nd edition unless they do make it backwards compatible. I don't know what's...
I don't think they're expansions. I think they're completely standalone games.
Expandalones. In that case, that's okay then.
It's my understanding.
But then you've got an odd one out on the shelf because presumably they're going to have the same artwork as the 2nd edition, so it'll just look odd. My OCD can't cope with that.
I don't care. I can live with that.
I can't.
I really do not
can't.
Care. Sid, have you got something else you can add? Or have we blown through your list?
No, well, you kind of have, because otherwise we're going to end up down a free league kind of rabbit hole. So I'll tell you what, set me up and I'll pick one of the games that you've got on your list and you can tell me all about it.
Oh, go on then. Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, is this like Jack and Nori?
Well, what
you have to sit round with a mug of warm milk.
for
No,
me,
it's more potluck. He's going to pick one out of the tombola. And we've got to explain why we're excited by it.
Yeah,
Christ,
that's exactly where I'm going.
He's assuming, or he's not assuming. I think he's going to be assuming that we know all about all of these games on the list, or he's being a dick and he knows damn well we know all because we haven't looked them up.
Now I will let you decide which one of those two I am going with. No, I reckon, because I'll tell you why this is interesting for me, because last year was probably the first year I really ever played any games properly. Mm-hmm. Like, I've dibbled and dabbled in it with you guys and that in the past, but last year I think we actually sat down, we had a good few kind of almost days worth of gaming. And there was a couple of things in that, or through that have made me realise there's certain types of game I like and certain that I don't like as much. So I'm going to pick some names, and you guys are going to tell me whether I'm going to like it.
Is this a quick fire round, basically?
No, not a quick fire round. No, I want to hear about it. I want to hear why you're excited about it, because that excitement, that enthusiasm you guys put in it is partly why I get interested in a game. Because this is an entire part of the whole gaming tabletop thing I don't know much about. So, I know some of the names on your list, and I know things, I've heard about Frosthaven and all that sort of stuff. So, I know about these names, but I don't necessarily know why I should be excited about it.
Okay.
So, I'll pick one each from your lists, and we'll see what happens.
Here you go. Okay.
So, let's start with... I'm going to pick Dawn of Madness.
Oof. Right, Jesus. Yeah, you've picked a simple one there, Sid. Right. Dawn of Madness is actually a sequel. Sorry, no, a prequel. A prequel to Deep Madness, what I have talked about in the past. So I've probably shown it off. It's two whacking great, huge boxes, one of which is full of miniatures, the other one is full of sort of tiles and cards and rule books more than anything else. And it is a... What kind of game is it? A lot of people have said, it's a bit like Mansions of Madness. And I thought that too until I played it, and it's not at all. It's nothing like it. It's a Cthulhu-based or inspired game, hence the madness. Deep Madness is set on a kind of undersea base in the sort of near future, and all kinds of hell breaks loose because Dagon gets involved, and you can imagine where that goes if anyone's familiar with the Lovecraftian mythos. If anyone gets involved and Dagon turns up, there's going to be a lot of trouble, but he's one of the water gods. Dawn of Madness is the prequel to that, and as far as I can tell, it's kind of where that universe all went wrong. I'm not going to lie, I haven't looked into it that much because I kind of want it to be a surprise. I think they're using an app to drive some of it as well, so they've obviously taken the Mansions of Madness route a little bit there. It is still, I think, slightly under development, but they're starting to get the miniatures through now. It is a bit late as well. It's one of these that's fallen into Steve's bracket of shit we should have had last year, but obviously things going wrong in the world have delayed it. But in terms of the actual gameplay, it's tile-based, but unlike Mansions of Madness, you actually know, at least you do in Deep Madness, you know the whole map before you start. So it's more like a puzzle than anything else, but it's a brutally hard puzzle, which makes it compelling, because you know it's possible, but you've got to get the right dice rolls, you've got to make the right decisions at the right point, you've got to really work together. You've also got to realise that you can't kill every gribbly on the map. You have to basically just punch it in the face and run away, so you can actually do your mission or your quest, or get to the exit before everyone goes mad. Now, assuming it's got a similar mechanic to Deep Madness, you can trade sanity almost like a commodity. So typically in any Lovecraftian games, sanity or insanity, as the case may be, is a very big part of the game. Obviously you don't want to go mad because it has a detrimental effect. Whereas in Deep Madness, they've kind of turned that on its head, and you can get insanity or you can use madness points, but you can essentially, when you get enough of them, you just sort of pull a card, which has a sort of a permanent detrimental effect, but it's never actually that bad. It's not great, but you can usually live with it, and then it kind of resets and you go round again. So you can probably tolerate a fair few of these things before you just become crippled completely. And Dawn of Madness presumably will play on something similar. And again, I'm not going to lie, I don't know all about it, but I am extremely excited about it because I really love Deep Madness, and it's a really, really good sort of fun game. It's bloody hard. It's a pain in the arse to set up, and it takes ages to play. I know all of those three things don't sound like it's going to be great, but once you're doing it, you're like, this is really good. It's really atmospheric. It's really good. And the miniatures are amazing. They're huge. There's literally hundreds of them. And they're all really, I mean, whoever thought them up and dreamed them up must have been like spooning H.R. Geiger when they dreamed them up, because they are weird. They are kind of that, Lovecraft and Geiger kind of monstrosities in various flavors and guises, and you've got these weird amalgamations of man, machine, and monstrosity. So it's all a lovely, lovely combination of weirdness.
That sounds really... Well, I'm glad I picked that, and I'm excited now. I feel excited, and I'm even more excited because I just watched Underwater the other day.
I'm still yet to watch that. I tried to find it the other day, and I can't.
Disney Plus.
Okay, yes, no, I know it's on Disney Plus, so yeah, I need to sit down and watch it, actually, because I've heard it's quite good.
It's watchable.
Yes.
Okay. Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
the setting and the context is excellent. It's a shame the cast is what the cast is. But everything else around it is really good. But
Is it 6 planks of wood underwater? Is that basically what it is?
I wouldn't want to be rude to any of the cast. But moving on, you've got me excited, but tell me, is it a co-op, semi-co-op, hidden traitor type thing that we've already played? Or what was it play like?
It's a co-op. Well, Deep Madness was a co-op. Yeah, it's fully co-op.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say about Deep Madness, I played it. I enjoyed it. I didn't think personally it did anything too exciting. It's in the same kind of complexity, although the madness thing is a different mechanic. It's that same kind of feeling you get from the kind of Zombicide kind of game. And what I say is, every person should own one of these games.
Definitely.
And Andy's one is Deep Madness, because it's that kind of whole old-fashioned Ameritrash. You have a bloke on the board, and you played the Alien game, Sid.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It's in that kind of genre.
Okay.
It's in that kind of thing. Loads of miniatures on the board. A simple dice roll means you've either shot an alien or you've been splattered kind of thing. And they're hard. They're bloody hard. And I feel as if everyone needs to own one of them and gets really deeply involved in one. And Andy's going for Deep Madness, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But someone else can go for another game and get really excited by that. There's no room in anyone's collection for more than one of these, in my opinion, because they're all so bloody similar.
It's fair. I mean, you could call it a dungeon crawler, but there's not much crawling. At least there wasn't in Deep Madness, because you know the map, but you don't know what's going to spawn where and when.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it hard. And if you're feeling really sassy, there are epic monsters in it. So what you can do is, when you set the game up, instead of just putting like regular Gribblies in there that are still pretty hard to beat, you can put this huge bastard in there, which causes all kinds of chaos because it has special powers, and some of them can teleport, some of them can spawn other monsters, just to make your day even worse. So
it does sound like something I would like to play in 2022.
Yes.
So, that's a good one. Oh, thank you, Andy.
No, you're quite welcome. So it looks quite good. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in it. I mean, the campaign was large, let's put it that way, and it is definitely in keeping with the larger side of the pledges.
Come on then, Sid, pick one from
Go
my
on,
list.
right, okay.
Go on, throw me in the deep end.
We're on this now, right?
I'm liking this way of doing it.
Your list is a bit different though, so it's hard. There's more stuff I have never heard of in my life. Not even things I would even know what to pick. Do you know what? Stormweavers. That's called me because I have absolutely no idea what that could even possibly be.
Right. So this is a game I'm taking a bit of a punt on. Okay. It is a solo game. It originally came out in Poland, in Polish. And I remember seeing pictures of this game like months before, and whereas Andy is basically saying how like Dawn of Madness, it feels like an old 80s shooty miniature game. This feels like an old 80s fantasy game. This feels like someone decided to make Hero Quest and just like, I don't want to play it with other people. I don't like other people. This is Hero Quest just for myself. So it's a book with a story in, like a choose your own adventure, but there are boards as well, and there's not miniatures, there's standees.
Ooh.
So little cardboard standees with little graphic, little like, I don't know what you call it, like graphical style, so quite, inked graphical comic book style, so brightly coloured. And yeah, you're just playing through the story, going through the book, fighting monsters. There's, it's like a choose your own adventure. You'll come to bits. You'll explore areas of the map. There's even the main map. The old the lottery ticket system where you have that silver foil over the top. The main campaign map is like a lottery ticket. Scratch cards. You scratch off areas of the map as you explore.
Oh,
Shut the front door. Really?
Yeah.
That's wicked.
Gimmick, sorry.
I've got to be fair. It's full of these little tiny gimmicks, but it's that kind of. It's basically a fighting fantasy book plus.
Mm-hmm.
So you sit through it and you read it, but you have a board with miniatures, and you'll actually do the combat tactically. It's the kind of thing which probably works better as a video game, but there is something about the artwork, something about the whole kind of 90s fighting fantasy nostalgia that's got me in there that I'm really... It was one of those things, sod this, I'm going for this. I mean...
That's not what I was expecting it to be at all. You're coming from left field there.
So it's one of those games we're probably not going to be able to play together because technically it's a solo game, but it is one of those games I can play and I can hand it to you and you can play it, and I can hand it to Andy and he can play it.
That would make for an interesting playthrough, wouldn't it? If you all played the same game and see what we all get out of the other end of it.
Yeah.
That could be quite an interesting discussion come this year.
So I usually don't buy solo games. I don't like solo games. I don't play solo games. And I've decided this is the one I'm going to go for. This is the solo game I'm going to get.
Excellent.
That'd be cool. No, that'd be really interesting to try that. As you say, just a little bit of share it around and see what each of us gets out of it. And then not share any, no spoilers between each other until we come together and discuss it.
Works for me. Sounds bloody good.
Yeah, it does sound like really good fun.
Should we carry on this route? I'm actually preferring this than us picking.
If you want, I'm happy to be educated by.
Go for
Go
it.
on, pick one of Andy's list. Go on,
pick one of Andy's list. Right, hang on then. I'll not pick anything too obvious. Some of these.
So he's avoided Frosthaven.
I've avoided because I've been banged to death, hasn't it? That one.
Fair.
And even me, with my complete ineptitude in this world, that knows all about Frosthaven. No, I'm intrigued by TMB Unbreakable because I want to know what TMB stands for.
Too many bones.
Oh, it's Too Many Bones. That's what
you know all about that.
No, I know all about that one. Let's skip that one then.
Have you seen the new Kickstarter that's coming soon from Chip Theory Games?
No, we got another one.
They're doing an Elder Scrolls game, and it's supposed to. The rumor is it's going to be a Too Many Bones rule system, but in the Elder Scrolls world.
Oh, interesting. See, the problem is
Yeah.
I never had any time for the Elder Scrolls because I thought the rule set was shite. So.
Well, it's a bit weird how there was a Skyrim game like a couple of months ago, and now there's going to be an Elder Scrolls game.
Yes. Is it going to be set in the kind of Skyrim universe, or is it going to be Oblivion, or is it going to be Morrowind?
Well, they're all in the same setting. It's all the same world.
Yeah, that's true.
So
What's happening with the Elder Scrolls? Because Modiphius have just dropped their RPG this year, haven't they? Or are releasing their RPG on it? Has the license just been kind of thrown up in the air?
Well, no, I think Modiphius have got the Skyrim license. So they did the Skyrim board game just before Christmas, which I decided not to back because I wanted it. I'm not going to lie, I want it. But it's another massive campaign game. So I've got too many campaign games that I play like one or two games and never really get beyond that. And I just thought, I can't justify that when I'm not going to play it. Same with the Witcher game that was on Kickstarter last year. That really tickles my fancy. But again, that was like this is a campaign game. It's like, and here's £200 worth of add-ons. You can go to extend your campaign. It's like, no, back away.
Don't tell Greg about that. He'll be all over the Witcher games. Right, I've made my choice. I've got it. I am picking Age of Atlantis. I love the Atlantis world and mythos and stuff like that.
Okay,
so go on, then.
interesting, because I had almost forgotten all about it until I started trawling my Kickstarter list. So Age of Atlantis is made by the same people who have done the Island of El Dorado, which was a very dice-based game, and I'm not going to lie, I was a bit disappointed with it. But the Age of Atlantis, again, like you said, I'm quite into the old Atlantean mythos and the idea of Atlantis behind that. So, but this is much more Euro than Age of Island of El Dorado. So the Island of El Dorado is basically a hex-based game where you're sort of exploring this island in an attempt to find a bunch of treasures, and the first person to buy, like, I think it's 4 of the treasures, wins the game. But there's loads of different factions, so I get the impression it can hold up to like 7 or 8 players at once, and some of the factions are antagonistic. So one of the people can play the island, and that, you know, you can basically get in the way of other people and summon monsters to get in everyone's way. One of you can play as thieves and so on. So anyway, that's a sort of an Ameritrash style game, because it's all based on dice rolling and stuff, where you can Euro it up. But anyway, I was kind of impressed by the production value more than anything else from the Island of El Dorado, because it's very well presented. And I thought, well, Age of Atlantis, why not? So this is an engine building game. Well, you're building a civilization as well. So you are the leader of a noble house within Atlantis, and you are basically trying to prove to the god Poseidon that you should be, you know, ruling the city. So it's a little bit like, actually, it looks a bit like. You remember Ave Roma, Steve? With the circular board, it looks a bit like that. I think it's a square board. The actual playing space is circular. So you've got the sort of different, the concentric circles that Atlantis is sort of rumored to be built of. It looks a bit like that. So they've taken advantage of the law there. So the idea is that you're growing your population, making new technologies, cultures, but the city's under attack from various bits and bobs. You've got to defend it as well. So and then throwing things at Poseidon to make sure that he's, you know, kept fat and happy. So again, engine builder, slightly more Euro, my sort of thing, really, with simple rules but complex strategy, which seems to be a good thing. So it should be, in theory, a reasonable teach, but it'll probably bake everybody's brain. So that's the hope. Beyond that, I don't know a huge amount more, because again, I tend not to look in too much detail at what's going on with the Kickstarter stuff, because otherwise I just get lost in comments and discussions and privilege and all that kind of shite that, you know, dogs a lot of campaigns. So I just go, no, read through the campaign when it starts, like the look of it, I'm in, done. And then just leave it until it turns up, basically, because at that point there's nothing I can do.
There's a lot to be said about that way of thinking.
Exactly. It's less stressful. But one of the things is one of the stretch goals in this, and this is pure pimp, which obviously gets me going, is there's a 11 centimetre metal statue of Poseidon that sits just in the middle of the game. Bonk. Serves no purpose at all. Bonk. So one of the stretch goals in the game was this miniature's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger the more money we make, basically. They're just going to plough money into pimp and make this statue bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm all for that. I'm going in with eyes in. Fuck it, why not? But it does look good. Cool. So there's other creatures from, weirdly, Grecian mythos. So they're mixing the metaphors here, because there's Pegasus and Cerberus and the Minotaur, the Centaur. Remember Lords of Hellas? It looks like
okay.
This has had a bit of a baby with it, but it does look really good. There's lots of little sort of wooden meeples and counters and tokens and stuff. So it looks like the sort of thing that either Vital Lacerda or Braincrack Games would probably make, with all the lovely sort of wooden shaped tokens and things. So it looks a lot like that. And you're putting dice on the back of Pegasus and you can fly around the map. So it does look interesting.
Oh, that does sound like good fun. Yes. I think that would be one that we should play. Yes,
I agree. I don't know when it's going to turn up. It was supposed to turn up in June of 2021, but obviously things have been late.
Yes.
But it does look pretty, the artwork. I mean, the thing is, I feel these days that talking about the artwork in board games is kind of facile because it's kind of expected that the artwork's supposed to be good. Now, if you don't have decent artwork in a board game, you might as well foxtrot Oscar.
You've said before you don't get points for pretty.
Exactly. Precisely right, Steve. No points for pretty anymore. But yes, you've actually reinvigorated my interest in the game now, Sid. Thank you for that. Because I genuinely pretty much forgotten all about it until the occasional update comes through. Oh yeah, back there, didn't I?
Oh, I'm hoping that, as I say, that for me, the reason I kind of want to ask and know these is because I feel like this year I want to play more. I want to try a few different styles because as I say, I'm starting to find what I like and what I don't like. And it's exciting. So there's a few good ones there for me to look forward to now.
Go on then, pick one off mine.
Pick one off your list.
Pick me.
Pick me. I would like to know about one that I've heard about, but I don't know much about. So I've heard the name. Yeah. So You've Been Eaten.
I knew you were going to pick that next. I don't know why. The name is just so intriguing, isn't it?
I think I've heard you or Rory or somebody talking about it.
Rory.
Both Rory and I have backed this. And I think Rory may have mentioned this in the podcast from a year ago about this. So this is a 0 to 3 player game. I'll get to that in a second. Basically, the idea of the game is there's a monster which has it's a sci-fi game, and there is a monster which grows gemstones in its gut, and one player will go in and have to collect gemstones. And it's like, so you've been eaten, so basically you have to go into the huge alien creature's mouth and go in and get gemstones and come out. So you can play a 2-player game where one is the miner and one is the beast.
Okay.
So it's not 0 to 3, so 0 to 2. You can do a 1-player game where you play the miner and it's an automated beast. You can play a 1-player game where you're playing the beast trying to get rid of the miner. But because there is automation rules for both the beast and the miner, then technically you can play it with no players and just let the game play itself.
That's madness. That's bonkers.
Do you know what? Weirdly, you've just given me a strange idea because Root comes with a bunch of mechanical players as well. And I'm just wondering if you could just pit 4 mechanical. I mean, obviously you'd need to do the mandrolics of actually running the game yourself, but I'm just wondering if you could play 4 mechanical players against each other and see what would happen. It would be mad.
So it's quite a light game. It's much lighter than most of the other games we've been talking about on this list. And it's going to be quite a quick game. This is going to be, so you can play in half an hour, not the 3 to 4 hour monstrosities that, Andy's been backing. It's going to basically, I think you'll be able to play a game of this by the time Andy has taught you half the rules for Weather Machine.
By the time I've set it up, never mind started the rules. Jesus. Do you know what? I actually tried to teach Agra at our Tuesday night in Worcester a few years ago now, and I'm not joking, it took an hour for me to teach that game. Now, I think my teaching has got a lot better since then, but it's still, it's a big game, it's a hard game, but it's, an hour. An hour just to teach the game. And then I lost.
So you've been eating, Steve. What age group's it pitched at?
I gotta admit, I'm on the Kickstarter page and I'm trying to find that now because unfortunately the picture of the box I can't quite see. It's set for 14 plus, but that's just because it's that's the kind of CE marking limit, isn't it? If it's under 14, it's a kid's game. It reckons it takes 30 minutes to play.
That sounds really cool because I think a few short games like that are the kind of thing that you just want to, pop off the shelf of an evening, have a little blast on it, and then put it away. And I could see me playing that with the wee man, maybe. Not maybe him playing on his own, but him sat there. In my head, right, and I have not looked this up, I'm trying not to look it up. I've got this awesome kind of cartoony, graphic-y kind of big worm floating around space kind of thing.
The board is basically the creature's gut. And so you go down through the guts. So it's like a row of cards. with things on them as you go down through the gut. And the further you go down, of course, there's this stomach closest to the miner and stomach closest to the beast. And there's different rewards for how far you manage to get down and get stuff. I don't know the rules. I don't know quite how it works. But you've got to fight bacteria. You've got a combination of tools you can use. It's one of those games. It looks quite light but interesting, and one of the trouble I find with a lot of light games, and Andy will probably agree with me here, is they get boring quick.
Yeah.
A lot of light games you kind of go, oh, that's all right, I suppose. Yeah, but this looked interesting at the same time, and a silly little theme. And it's Ludi Creations as well, and I think Ludi Creations always try really hard to make interesting games. Yeah.
They've done well so far, because they did Crisis, they've done On the Underground, so they've always done pretty reliable games in my experience.
So me and Steve can play this while you're setting up Dawn of Madness for us.
Yeah.
There you go. It's like a foyer game for the rest of us while Andy's setting up his big massive...
I mean, Dawn of Madness probably won't fit on Steve's table. You'll have to use mine because it would just take the whole thing.
So we can play that at your house while you're setting the game up for us. It still works.
Well, you could probably learn and play that game, drive to mine, and I might have set Dawn of Madness up.
I feel like we have a plan forming here, gentlemen.
We have, yeah. Right, we've got our 9 games. We usually say our 9 games. That's 9.
Oh, well, that's happened quick, isn't it?
But since Sid's doing this potluck, is there anything else that really takes your eye, Sid? I think this method of doing it works quite well, and it stops me having to pick something from a list.
Is there anything else that takes my
from any list that really really attracts your attention?
Well, there is one that I haven't heard about. Which is Rivers of London. Oh. And you've tagged it as an RPG.
It is an RPG.
Yes.
It will be.
So have you read Rivers of London, Sid?
I have not.
Have you read it, Andy? Or is it Laura's read it?
Both. We've got the audiobooks. So she's read and or listened to about 4 or 5 of them. I've listened to about 98% of the first one.
Right, so you know the gist of the
first
one. So the Rivers of London is a series of novels, and it's about a policeman in London who's like a young, new start policeman. It's basically him and his friend who basically just come into the force.
Leslie.
And yes, Leslie. And he realises that he's got like a sixth sense. So the thing starts with him thinking he's found a witness to a crime. It's not a witness, it's a ghost. He was the only one who could see him. And then another member of the police force, like a more senior member, takes him to one side and basically says, hang on, we're our own special division.
Come this way.
Come this way. And basically the story is that, he's technically, I suppose, this other policeman is a wizard of sorts, and he's teaching him magic, and he teaches him how to speak to ghosts, and there's this borderline where the magic is interfering. They can't keep it under wraps because these are causing major events, the crimes that are happening due to magic. So it's all about that. It's I think it's really well done. And if you've ever read, what's the American one? Oh, they made a TV program. I think the TV program was Pants. Oh, Dresden Files.
Oh, right, yeah.
Ever seen or watched Dresden Files? Well, Dresden Files is like an American version of that. It's about Chicago's only wizard in the phone book kind of thing. And it feels like someone started with the same basic idea, except Rivers of London feels very, very British.
Yes,
he's a policeman. He's a policeman, and he seems to drink. He spends most of his time drinking cups of tea, or complaining that his tea's gone cold, or in shit polystyrene cups from the vending machine. That kind
Nightingale's wonderful. His boss, Nightingale, is very much. I mean, have you've seen?
Life on Mars.
No, it's the opposite of Phil Glenister.
I was just thinking of him driving the Jag because he's got the Jag.
Yes, he's got the Jag. Yeah, he's got the Jag. But he's like Colin Firth in Kingsman.
Okay.
That's the image I've got in my head of Nightingale, who's his boss, the last official sanctioned wizard in England. And he's very prim and proper, well-to-do, wears the suit and drives the Jag. And he's got this sort of, he's got the umbrella and, all this. He's very, very typically quintessential English gent. And he's definitely my favourite character from the books, just because everyone comes in here, you think he's frail English gent, and then he just whoops all kinds of ass because he's a wizard.
So what kind of setting is it? Because it sounds like a modern day.
It is. It's contemporary.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
With wizards and ghosts.
Yeah, magic
supernatural shit.
Yeah, magic and the supernatural are basically real. Is the fundamental premise.
And it's called Rivers of London. Not to give too much away from the main thing, but because the rivers of London have got like anthropomorphic people, so he goes and actually meets the River Thames.
Oh,
as a person,
Father Thames,
yeah,
yes.
Father Thames, yeah. So the rivers are like actual people, and they have magical influence as well. It's got it feels a little bit Terry Pratchett in that aspect.
Yeah, yeah, because Isis is there, which obviously becomes the Thames, and then it's almost gangland in a way, because each of these people has their own turf. And if there's the police are kind of stuck between this kind of ongoing, almost armed truce that's going on.
Okay. And who's bringing this to my world?
Is Chaosium, makers of Call of Cthulhu.
Okay. So what? So on the Cthulhu system or a whole system of its own?
I've got to admit, I don't know. All I know is they've been playtesting it for quite some time. And this isn't going to be, this isn't the first kind of RPG that's like this. There's an RPG called Liminal that Modiphius published, which looks very, very similar. But I can see this being quite an interesting one to run, because it's quite easy to see how you can, basically running around London solving, supernatural crimes in modern London. So if anyone's got any knowledge, you can reference tube stations and pubs and all kinds of things like that. So it'd be quite interesting to see it, but the release date seems to have been put back a few times. I don't know when exactly it's coming out.
Well, that does sound quite interesting.
It's a really cool universe, actually. I've only read the first one, but I'm quite. It's an interesting, setup, and the guy who reads it, I can't remember his name, but he does a really, really good job on the audiobooks, because he's got a very versatile voice. His version of Nightingale is very good. But
it's actually, I've just seen a character sheet, and yes, it's very similar to the Call of Cthulhu rules. You've got there's about 400 skills.
Oh, wow.
Which are all going to be investigative skills, so like appraising, lip reading, piloting, that kind of stuff.
That sounds awesome. It sounds like another one to add to the list. It also sounds like another one which could be done in little small episodes.
Yeah.
So it could be a really nice filler, like a bit of a palate cleanser, like we've used Cthulhu in the past.
Definitely.
Cool. Don't know about you two boys, but I'm quite excited about this list now.
And so you should be.
Yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff on this. Just hope some of it comes out in 2022, and we're not talking about it at the end of 2022. Is it stuff we're looking forward to in 2023?
I'm not making any promises.
No.
There's one more I would like to add.
Yes.
Just one. And it is a bit more left field. At the start I said I'm going to keep everyone on their toes. I've gone very, very different for each of my choices. So Weather Machine was Dry Boring Euro, Homeworld was an RPG, Chronos Builder isn't even a game. I know that's kind of...
Right.
Why are you talking about this, Andy? Because it is literally a builder. It's I'm reminded of a conversation that we had as a group last week before, where Rory really loves to make fantasy maps, and he gets really into his DM, and he makes fantastic, wonderful maps for his gamers. But we're all struggling to find a sci-fi map builder.
Yes.
Chronos Builder fills that void. It was recently on Kickstarter. The campaign is finished, but this is a steampunk and sci-fi map building engine, but it also does 3D maps, so you can like do whizzy flashbang fun graphics and set up videos and various other bits and bobs in it. So it looks really awesome, actually, and it's due out later this year. In about October, I think it is, sort of Q4 kind of time. But I thought I'd give it a quick mention because it looks like our kind of cheese, as it were.
Well, given how much we depend on VTTs and stuff now, and
Precisely,
having something to produce the maps for us would be, or that we can produce the maps with, definitely fills the hole that we were looking at.
Exactly. I thought that might tickle your fancy, so I've backed that, and I should be getting an alpha build of it at some point. So we shall have to see what that looks like. But it does look quite impressive. If you'll go on Kickstarter and have a look for Chronos Builder, you'll find what it is, and also all sorts of sort of weird and wonderful fancy videos showing it off, and it does look really bloody good, actually.
Cool.
Imagine that being quite useful.
Exactly. I've not just backed something because it's pretty.
Especially given how many cyberpunk, spaceship, futuristic, dystopian games we've just mentioned in the last hour or so. Exactly. It feels like an essential part of our lives.
I'd agree with that, yeah. Hopefully you can make something useful out of it, Andy.
Hopefully, yes. Well, that's my plan. I mean, I'd like Rory. Jeez, I've got what you've got now. Like Rory, I quite enjoy making maps of things. So this should allow us to make maps now for pretty much anything we want. Because there's things like Incarnate and other map builders that we use for Dungeon Draft, I think it is, that Rory uses for the fantasy side of things. And then, of course, now there's Chronos Builder for the old futuristic-y shit. Then all bases are now covered.
Right, and I think that's all we've got time for today. I think we've done quite a good run through of what we're excited for, and haven't repeated too much from the previous last year's episode. So thank you very much for listening. We have been Polyhedron Collider. Please give us a review on our podcast platform of choice. If you want to chat to us, we are on Facebook, Twitter, etc. Look for Polyhedron Collider, and we're on Board Game Geek Guild 2726. But until then, until next time, happy gaming.
Tatty bye.
Cheerio.